Kelly?
He said we're good.
Okay. I'd like to call the Claymont City Board of Education regular meeting for October the 12th, 2020, 5:30 to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beckman?
Here.
Mr. Fawcett?
I'd like to
Mrs.
call
Fluel?
the...
Here. Mr. Miles?
Here.
Mr. Trimmer?
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get into the administrative reports, I'd like to welcome everyone that's watching us on the Zoom. But I'd also like, on behalf of this Board of Education, to pass our sympathy off to our Claymont family and relatives that we lost 3 people the other day in a terrible, terrible accident that took the life of 2 youngsters and their mother. That goes to our history. At this time, I'd like to have a moment of silence. And if you'd like to say a prayer underneath, that would be fine. So we'll have a moment of silence. Amen. Thank you. At this time, we'll have administrative reports. Buckeye report, please.
Okay, I'm just gonna get back from with everything going on. I've kind of got away from it, but not too much to report. I gave you guys all a copy of it. Just a energy operations building. All phases are finally complete for that new building. There are lots of things going in there. The final connections of the programming for the HVAC system was completed this past Saturday, so everything is completed with that project. Looking forward to all our students being able to enjoy that and learn in there. With current schedules, they've just extended the blended learning schedule through October 23rd, so just trying to keep, like we all are doing right now. And I have the Buckeye meetings after ours, so this is kind of backtracking a little bit, but I just wanted to recognize Samantha Mann was a student of the month for September. Samantha is a culinary arts bead cutting double lab senior from Claymont. She's active in the Twin City Kids Coalition, Denison Rotary. She's a 2-year member of the BCC Best Buddies program. Participates in mock trial for Claymont for 3 years, also in color guard. So they just had lots of great things to say about her. She's always up for it. Whatever the task is a very positive thinker. So they expect big things from her this year and in the future. So I just wanted to recognize Samantha Mann. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the Buckeye report? Okay, we'll move on. Business advisory.
Business advisory meeting was held on September 29th at 6:30. And I just highlighted some of the notes for you in that. I want to say that Ohio's current job market is about 84%. Job availability depending upon the work sector. Hospitality and food service have taken a huge reduction due to COVID. While health corporations increased in their jobs. One thing they've been talking about for the last probably year is a cracker plant down at Dilly's Bottom, which is in between Powhatan Point and Bel Air area. They're slowly moving toward this. What they're going to do is crack the atoms and extract plastic and energy from those. But they're moving forward with those slowly. Career navigators. Currently, there's 2 career navigators. One is in Belmont County, the other one is in Guernsey County. Tuscarawas County ESC, that serves us, is hoping to get a career navigator through a grant to serve our county. Just kind of jumping ahead. They're looking for more business officials to help serve on the Business Advisory Council. It's about one meeting a quarter. So they're looking for a lot more businesses to pitch in on it. In the minutes, you see that there's a lot of school officials that attend these business advisory meetings, but they need more business type officials to help. So they range from all sectors, from business industry to more white collar businesses. And the next meeting will be held before December 15th, because I have to submit a report to ODE by that time, regarding Business Advisory Council. And that's the synopsis of Business Advisory.
Okay. Any questions on it?
And if you're interested in joining as far as the Business Advisory Council, let me know and I can get you in touch with Dean Chrisman, the leader, organizer, chairman of the Business Advisory Council.
Okay, principals report.
Some of the reports were in your packet, and others have been laid out there in front of you. I won't share Mrs. Miles' thunder. We'll let her do that. Preschool had an update. For special education update, they're setting high expectations for our students, and they'll work hard to provide job skills for our students. They're actually starting at intermediate, middle, and high, from like coffee stations where they sell things for students through our self-contained classrooms. High school is doing coffee in the morning, middle school is doing like juice and snacks after school or toward the end of the day, and they're selling some things that they're taking like an Olive Cart around, helping our students gain real life experiences. Preschool's in full swing. They're encouraging their students to do everything they can possibly look at. Preschool report, I think Mr. Seibert emailed you on those with his newsletter. I don't think Mr. Page sent you his report. A lot of them have picture days. Intermediate picture day, face-to-face on the 23rd. The Lighthouse meetings are in full swing, and as part of the Leader in Me. The middle school, they have the service dog Poet. They've been a big asset to calling the students, and as the Lasekis are taking care of the dog, and the kids are really enjoying the dog and really helping with the serving Poet is serving its purpose. And lastly, the high school, they highlighted students Samantha Mann from the high school as Student of the Month. And Ian Miser has 104 Forward Edge badges. What Miss Miles and I did this led to, we sat through a meeting with a former alumnus, Jeff Langdon, and there's about a 1 hour online module that you complete, and it's all on Google Classroom, how to do a Google Doc, how to do a Google Slide, and you earn points for this. And if the teachers complete these activities, they can turn and get CEUs, contact hours to renew their licenses. So just want to highlight Ian there. He's at the leaderboard with 104 points in high school. So we'll have those.
Anything else, sir?
I do not have anything else.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
You have a few items at your table. Okay. Let's try this, there we go. There's a couple items at your table. The first item that was on the top of your stack was the district improvement plan, which I'm going to highlight some of the things in that plan through the presentation today. The second item is curriculum news and summaries of what's happening in the committees that are running the district. We've had some concerns that things were happening and there was no communication of what was happening in the committees that were going out. So this is an effort to open that community or that conversation and that communication with our teachers. So they know what's happening at each of the committees. And there's also some on there about curriculum news, what we've done to purchase some items this year with the COVID funds that we received for some digital curriculum, things like that, testing information. So if I have enough information to put out a monthly newsletter, I will attempt to do that for our teachers, just to kind of keep them in the loop of what's happening. The third item that you have there is the reading achievement plan, the district literacy plan. That is a combination of a required reading achievement plan that we have to have board approved. We do not have to submit it to the state at this point, but you have to approve it, as well as a more detailed literacy plan of what we're doing at every grade level to improve the literacy across the
Do you
district.
want this approved tonight under new business?
That's up to you. I was assuming that we look at it today, give them time to read it, and then maybe come back next month, ask questions, and then approve it if it's something that they're interested in. But we're going to start, first of all, with the two-sided district improvement plan that is in front of you. We have been in the improvement plan, Ohio improvement process for roughly, I think, 6 years. And through that 6 years, there's been a lot of trials and tribulations. I believe we've had 5 external facilitators that have been in our district that help roll out this improvement process. And every time we got a new facilitator, the plan was different. And when we are meeting every quarter for our DLTs, everybody's sitting there like, what are we doing here? What is the purpose? So we took hold of this plan ourselves this year from 2020 to 2023. It's a new plan. And we decided that we're going to make it make sense for us. So our intended outcomes with our district plan this year is to make sure all plans are aligned in our district. We have to do a CCIP, which is an explanation of our federal programs funding, what's the plan for using that money, and then setting up budgets for using that. The district improvement plan, which is a requirement through the Ohio improvement process. Each building is supposed to be developing an improvement plan, and that was all over the board. The literacy plan that you're going to look at tonight. And then when I applied for the school improvement grant fund several years ago, we had to create a plan on what we were going to do and how we were going to improve things in our schools and set a budget for that. And we were all over the place. So we decided to align those together so the teachers understand the connectivity of everything that we're doing. So they're not piecemealing things and nothing makes sense. So I believe with this current plan that you have in front of you that there is some connections with everything that we're doing. Intended outcome number 2, communicate direction, purpose, and coordination of our initiatives and strategies within our district. And I just listed a few of those: PBIS, multi-tiered system of support, the leader in me, portrait of a graduate, curriculum mapping, formative instructional practices, universal design for learning, Read 180, letters training, OG, integrity. There's all of those things happening in the district, and that sounds like a lot. And again, this plan unites those all together so people understand why all of those things and how all of those things are being implemented. And then obviously number 3, to impact student achievement through clear, uniform goals. We're all in the same purpose, we're focusing on the same strategies, we're using specific action steps, and every building is involved. It's just not our K-3 that have to do the reading achievement plan. It's K-12, or pre-K to 12. Our pre-Ks even involved in this. We have 3 goals in the plan. The first 2 are lumped together on this page just because the strategies that we have for those goals are the same. By the end of the 2022-23 school year, Claimant will increase the literacy and the math indicator. We're going to double those up at 15% at each grade level, growing 5% annually towards meeting the 80% benchmark, as evidenced by the local report card. Now this is a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Would you say? It's an impressive goal. It is a goal we're going to have to work to achieve, but our teacher sitting at the district leadership team said we have to set the standard high. We need to make sure that we're pushing forward all the time. So if everybody makes 5% annual growth, we will all be at the 80% benchmark in 3 years. And math is the same goal. Some of the strategies, or the 3 strategies we've chosen, are to develop and implement district curriculum maps. That started last year, courtesy of the improvement grant that we got from the high school and the middle school and the elementary school. They've already started the curriculum maps. This year, the teachers in the buildings that work in that grant are now doing the curriculum mapping. And this year, our teachers that went through the curriculum mapping last year are focused on making sure their assessments have a high DOK knowledge and are aligned to the Ohio learning standards. Strategy B, making sure we're implementing evidence-based assessment instruments to track individual student progress and inform instructional needs. That's our MAP assessment that we're giving K to 12 now, for those at the high school level, 11th and 12th that need that aren't on track yet. And this past week, we had great conversations with Maria Colombo. She's our ESC consultant that's working with us to give some more information to our teachers about the MAP assessment. We spent about an hour and a half at each building. It was a busy day, running from building to building to building, but we looked at the data that we got from the first round of assessments. And then the strategy C, implementing universal design for learning principles to ensure all learners can access and participate in meaningful, challenging learning opportunities. And that aligns with your vision that you guys have created. All right, and there's a list of our action steps. I think I skipped strategy A, there we go. Strategy A action steps are all about the curriculum mapping, about making sure our assessments are appropriate, developing formative summative assessments as needed and embed them in our curriculum map, monitoring the implementation of our curriculum maps. Are we teaching what we say we're teaching? Does our written curriculum align with our actual curriculum that we're teaching? And evaluate the effectiveness of the curriculum maps. And the way we're going to be doing that is by looking at these implementation indicators. By the end of the 2022-23 school year, 100% of our teachers will have produced, completed, implemented curriculum maps aligned to the high learning standards. Right now, we're nowhere near that. We've got half of our staff that have done the curriculum mapping because of the grant last year. The other half is working on it this year. The first group, the first cohort last year is working on assessments. Next year, the cohort that started mapping this year will be working on assessments. So it's one group is right after the other. And then the student performance indicator. So we can show if we're improving. All students will improve using high quality assessments. Are they getting better at the assessments that we're giving them? Strategy B. This is all about the assessments, the benchmarking, the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. That's what those initials mean at the line 1. Are we able to analyze the data? Can we look at the data and see what it means? And that's what some of the conversation was from last Friday. And then in between, we got to develop formative assessments. Yes, our students are off track. So how are we going to measure what is happening in our instruction? Are they getting better? We don't want to wait till the middle of the year to test them and see if they're making progress. We have to have some progress monitoring assessments in between. And then evaluate the district-wide implementation of data analysis. So we're supporting teachers in looking at that data. And again, the adult implementation indicator, 100% of teachers will administer high-quality student assessments to all students, not just the ones that show up on the day we give the test. All students. If you're not there, tomorrow, when you come, you're getting tested. We can't have a pocket full of kids that we don't test because their attendance is poor. We need to know where every kid is and how they're performing and what we need to do to help them. And all of that data is being analyzed and talked about through the TBTs. And then the student performance indicator. By the end of 2023 school year, this is important, all students will actively analyze their own data and monitor their own progress as measured by the TBT. No longer is this number that they have to get to a secret. When we talk about the Hattie research, where it talks about an effect size on students, what we do with kids that make an impact, a 0.4 is like the middle road, 0.4 is like 1 year's growth. Students analyzing and making their own progress decisions is a 1.3 effect size, 3 times the amount effect size as a 1 year evidence-based strategy. So this is something the DLT, and I was very proud of them for that. This is an indicator that we need to move towards. So it's sitting down with those students and saying, this is where you're at right now on this assessment. This is where you need to be to perform at a proficient level on the state test at the end of the year. What's your goal? Like going back to that quality that we used to have several years ago. Strategy C. Provide professional development and universal design for learning. We started that a couple weeks ago, Monday at Fair Week. And because it was a Zoom training, we do have some money left over to have her come back and do maybe some webinars here in the future just to reinforce some of the learning that we have. This is all about TBT, BLT, DLT conversations. In TBTs, once we analyze the data, we need to select strategies that we're going to apply to our lessons to improve our students' learning. Monitor the implementation of those strategies. Come back and say, do those strategies work? If they did, let's keep doing them. If they didn't, let's figure out what else we can try, okay? Then the job of the TBT then is to share what's their data, share their implementation with the BLT, and then the BLT shares that with the DLT at our quarterly meetings. And again, the adult implementation indicator, by the end of the 2022-23 school year, 100% of teachers will implement evidence-based instructional strategies informed by the UDL principles. And then student performance indicator, again, the students are actively analyzing their data and monitoring progress of their own assessments that are measured by the TBT. All right, and the third goal that we have is all about climate. Mr. Watkins is doing a great job with this Mustang Pride Committee. We want all of our students to be excited sitting in our classrooms. That's what this climate goal is all about. If kids are happy, they feel connected, they have teachers that they still care about them, they're gonna wanna be here. So those kids that aren't here, when we have attendance issues, it's because we've not made a connection with our kids. So our goal here is that each year, each school in the Claremont School District will reduce their school absenteeism by 1.1% annually, or maintain absenteeism indicators set by the state by implementing your evidence-based school improvement practices found in Leader in Me and the PBIS system to close the gap in the absenteeism benchmark on the local report card. So kids feel connected to the school. They're proud of where they are, they're proud of their school system, they're gonna wanna be there every day. So what are we gonna do differently so that kids want to have that connection or they're able to have that connection? Strategy B is the Leader in Me. It empowers students and encourages their leadership and their life skill development. Gives them strategies that they can be the leader that's inside of them, that they've never had the opportunity to do. And then to develop and use a district-wide PBIS structure, positive behavior interventions and supports, is what that stands for, to improve our school safety and promote positive behavior. So those two strategies go along with improving our private goal. And then there's the action steps for the Leader in Me. We've already implemented the 7 habits of highly effective people. If you've been able to get through the buildings, I know probably not allowed in there at this point, but you will see that they've got posters everywhere, sticky notes on the walls about the 7 habits, being proactive, put first things first, think when they, all of those 7 habits that highly effective, that make people effective. The Lighthouse committees, those are committees that each building has to drive the Leader in Me program in their buildings. Providing professional development and launching leadership, aligning academics, and empowering instruction. Those are 3 one-day professional developments that are offered through Leader in Me. The first 2-day training was the 7 habits, so those are going to be coming. Monitor the implementation of Leader in Me lessons. There are lessons embedded in their online platform that help teachers roll out the first 8 days. I think it's called the first 8 days. To tell them how to set up their classroom expectations and roles and involving the students in that process. And evaluate the implementation of the Leader in Me through parent surveys, teacher surveys, student surveys, to see how they feel as things are going in their building. And again, the implementation, the adult implementation, 100% of all staff will utilize the Leader in Me training to empower and encourage students to build and strengthen their leadership qualities. And by the end of the 23 school year, all students will be able to apply the 7 habits of Leader in Me and advocate for themselves in order to engage in leadership activities.
And may in your, Mrs. Khan sends you, I think, the updates for every Monday that she's for you, for her s'mores. But in that, we talked about Mr. Peters. He's the Lighthouse chairman for the high school, and he puts together videos that are to be shared during that first period class every day about Leader in Me through the weeks. So he's really taken this bull by the horn himself, not that all the other staff has it, but just highlighting Mr. Peters, making sure that he's setting out those videos, stressing the 7 habits and how they all pertain. So I want to acknowledge him.
Strategy E was all about the PBIS. Last spring, we finalized the district-wide expectations. I believe you guys took part in the survey online for Portrait of a Graduate, which helped build our competencies that when our students graduate, these are the things that we want our graduates to have. And we use those competencies to build our district expectations, our behavioral expectations. So from that, our teachers, our principals went back and met with their building teachers, or building leadership teams, and they took our district expectations and created a matrix of their expectations in their building. What do we want students, how do we want students to behave in those competencies while they're in the cafeteria, while they're in the playground, while they're on the school bus, while they're in the classroom. Determine our screening practices and tools to document, monitor, and evaluate our PBIS data. Where are our problems occurring? What do we need to do differently? Maybe we're having problems with behaviors in the bottom of the stairwell. Maybe we need to have better supervision there, or maybe we have to have better training for our students so they know what's expected or what we allow, what we don't allow in our buildings. Collect data to determine the interventions, implement those interventions, and evaluate the implementation of those evidence-based interventions. And the adult implementation indicator by the end of 2023 school year, each building will fully implement PBIS to ensure students feel safe and promote positivity in our kids. And then the student performance, each student will implement evidence-based interventions or strategies on their own. Interventions are about teaching kids how to intervene for themselves. Multiplication is what we do for them. We want our students to be able to advocate for themselves. If they need something, we need to teach them what they need to do to help cope with things that are happening in their day-to-day lives. And that is strategy. And there's just a list of everybody that's on the district leadership committee. There's representatives from every building, from every classification, aides, title teachers, gen ed teachers, administration. And then Kaylee Andrews is, I think she's broke the record. She's our SST rep, and she's probably been here the longest of our external facilitators. This is her 2nd year. Okay. All right. Do you have any questions? I know that's a lot, and I'm talking fast trying to get down also. Any questions about that one?
I just highlight, I want to thank Jody on that, because this is good work as far as what's going on. And I would say our teachers have set the expectations on this district leadership team. They're the ones who say we need to go to 15% to increase. If we don't set that bar high, we'll never strive to achieve it. So they see the urgency. They see the urgency to do curriculum mapping, to take their assessments so they align to the content standards. So they're pulling back, taking it back to their staff, their colleagues, and saying, how can we adjust this to make it better? So,
Good conversation.
I want to add something there. I appreciate that. Very nice. You a lot to touch on. You said about the students being disconnected. I mean, this COVID-19, kids are wearing masks. We're in a time where suicide has reached a level that we don't want to see.
Right.
Don't want to lose a kid to that. And for what these teachers doing, what they're doing, can stay connected with our students. We're going to reach that 8%. So I appreciate that.
Well, I think Mr. Wrench and I had a conversation over the summer about eliminating maybe that remote option to just be full face-to-face or that online edgenuity. And our conversation was, we want our students to still stay connected with a teacher at Claymont, if we could all, and no possibility, have them reach out in their Zoom meetings or whatever, because they need to have that connection to a real person.
I appreciate the uniform too, bringing the whole district all on the same page as we've laid out. Very clear. I appreciate you just making it across the board.
Well, that was all the work of the DLT, not just
Thank you,
me, but
everybody.
I mean, we
Thank
all
you,
work. Even personally, I had to develop several of these plans on my own, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I wanted it to make sense to our teachers, and some of the work they're not involved in, so they don't see it. But now I think it's cohesive, and hopefully, once we roll that out to them, it'll make sense. So I wanted to share it with you first. Okay, moving on. This won't last quite as long. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
The reading sheet.
I didn't promise Justin a short one, so.
I'm sorry. He doesn't know the Clark, I'm a Clark by nature, the Clarks like to talk, so. All right, so the reading achievement plan that we have, this will go pretty quickly. This is your vision. Claymont community, preparing a pathway for a lifetime of success for every student. That vision ensures that when a student leaves Claymont, they are equipped with the resources and the education they need to be successful. A large component of that education and resources is literacy. So we need to make sure that our kids can read at the highest level possible when they leave our district. And this Claymont Literacy Plan provides for quality early learning experiences, as well as the development of literacy skills for all age groups, grades, and subjects to ensure that all learners acquire the language and literacy skills that they need to be proficient in reading, writing, and communication. So here's just some of the data that we've had. The top data is what was on our local report card. In the 2018-19 school year, we don't have this on this current report card because we didn't have end of year assessments, but in kindergarten, 54% of our students are not on track. First grade, 52.25%, almost a quarter, are not on track. Second grade, 51% not on track. Third grade, 59.7% not on track. 50 to 60% of our kids are not on track in reading at their grade level. And here's a little bit of information here. 32% went from the year before in kindergarten from off track to on track. It's not enough.
And mind you, that this assessment is taken at the beginning of every year.
Yes.
So, there is a summer slide, but, we should expect better results.
Because of the deadline that the state has put on us, they have to be assessed first grade through third grade by the end of September. And this year we assessed them, we brought it into school to assess them before school even started, just because we had no data to see where those kids were. So I can anticipate that data is probably not going to look real great either. But just looking down below, we've had dibbles for several years, from 2016 to 2019. Our dibble scores have declined in almost every grade level. And then this was our middle of the year. I don't know what the end of the year would have looked like had we done it. I'm sure it would have been a lot better than what that is now. But something needs to change. Something's got to change because we can't have kids, half of our students, reading at these lower grade levels. Because as they get older, the gap to close gets wider, exponentially.
Where does that compare across the state? for all schools. It was similar.
I'll have to get the data, I can't recall, I mean, we are not the lowest. I mean, I don't know what their DIBELS data looks like, because they don't share that, but they're on track, off track, we could see if we looked at their report cards. But looking at like third grade end of course, or end of year, state tests, we are probably 2/3 of the way down the list.
In the scatter plot that was on the report card, we kind of bunched in with a bunch of other schools. I mean, if you took the X and Y axis and put them in the middle, we're all at the lower echelon of it, but there's a bunch of schools with us. And there's some that are, I mean, you took a map that is through it right at the middle, that's how it sticks, and then you got some that spray out. But we're right in there with a whole lot of people.
Alright, you'll recognize this first literacy goal. It might be changed a little bit because it's not talking about every grade level, but by the end of the 2023 school year, federal or increasing literacy indicator measured by 50%, growing 5% annually towards meeting the 80% benchmark. So that's the third grade goal. That's our long-term goal. And in the committee conversation that we had, the teachers wanted to measure student growth. Not necessarily a stagnant number at the end of 3 years. They wanted to measure growth along the way. So the MAP assessment that we give is a RIT score. It's a measure of academic growth every year for students. And so they wanted to look at that. So we have a goal, it's 70% of students K-5 will meet the projected RIT score as determined by the end of the year benchmark measure in MAP. The following year, we're going to up that a little bit. 80% of our students are going to meet their projected RIT score. And that's an individual score of their own growth. And when they get their first test that they take in the spring or the fall, there is a projection of where they should be if they stay on track, if they have solid instruction, this is where they should be by the end of the year. And that measurement also tells what their projection or their prediction is going to be on the state test when they get to third grade, if they maintain that trajectory. So 80% in year 2 and 90% in year 3. And that's just students maintaining their own progress. Research from the 2000 National Reading Panel suggests a balanced approach combining language and literature-rich activities develops proficiency in reading and writing. I mean, for several years when we had step-by-step group here, they were only focused, or their focus was on phonemic awareness and phonics. And that was confusing to the teachers, so they didn't do anything with vocabulary or comprehension or anything like that. So our teachers spent a lot of time focusing on just that one area. There's 5 components of literacy, and we need to have a good balance of those to make sure that our students become readers. All right, let's get to the next one. So those are the 5 components: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension. And the letter or the area beside them are what in kindergarten, what that looks like: blending and segmenting, sounding basic phonics, sounds and words, speaking and listening. And then it also measures 50% of the activities that you spend as a teacher in your literacy block should be on phonemic awareness, phonics, and fluency in kindergarten. The other 50% should be on vocabulary and comprehension building. As you get to first grade, 40% is on phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, and 60% shifts to the vocabulary and comprehension. And then same thing in second grade. And then third grade, the shifts start becoming, the shift isn't teaching you how to read, it's teaching you how to, trying to think, to not teach you how to read, but teaching you how to read to learn.
Yeah, more content.
Read to learn. So it's not how to read, but read to learn. So 30% is on the phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, and 70% is on vocabulary instruction. So giving this information to teachers so that they're looking at their literacy block and saying, am I doing this? Is is this the right amount of time that I'm spending at these different areas? The plan to increase literacy achievement. We're going to focus our improvement efforts on effective literacy instruction at all grade levels. Teachers will provide multi-tiered support for students. We'll ensure instructional strategies are evidence-based. That's a pretty new word to our staff here. What does evidence-based mean? It's different than research-based. There's proven knowledge, there's proven information that says that these evidence do work for our kids and our clientele. So when we choose something to do, a strategy we want to implement in our classrooms, is it an evidence-based strategy? And there are places to go to look for that, but I'll show you some of the ones we've already decided that we're doing. Provide a balanced, comprehensive approach to literacy. And staff professional development will continue to build, got an error there, teacher capacity to improve our literacy. So there's some of the evidence-based strategies we're already doing. Multi-tiered system of support. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. Integrity phonemic awareness curriculum. That's 10 to 15 minutes daily of doing phonemic awareness activities. My preschool teachers are even doing this, and they come down to the bathroom while they're standing in line in the bathroom. They're doing all of these oral activities. The teacher says, outdoors. They learn how to take apart words and put words back together. The Ordinarian approach in all Tier 1 classrooms. And then ongoing formative assessments and progress monitoring. Those are evidence-based strategies that we are already implementing. There's a multi-tier system of support. There's a structure there. What should be happening in our classrooms in Tier 1? That is core classroom for all students. For preschool, 150 minutes every day of core instruction, literacy instruction. For K-3, it should be 120 minutes daily of literacy instruction. 90 minutes at grades 4 and 5. It includes a combination of whole class instruction, small group instruction, learning centers, which we can't really do right now because of COVID, but that's all considered Tier 1. There's no interventions in Tier 1. It's doing instruction, it's giving the same instruction to all of our students. Tier 2 is providing some explicit, systematic, multisensory instruction to small groups of students for 30 to 45 minutes, 3 to 5 days per week. Those are our intervention groups. This instruction can be provided in a gen ed setting or can be done with a title teacher or a resource person. And then the Tier 3, those are those intensive, individualized intervention, typically delivered outside the general education center, setting by someone specialized in designing and providing those interventions. They're focused on specific goals, which may or may not be on grade level, guided by progress monitoring, more intense, often longer or more frequent sessions. Those are our students that are on IEPs or potentially are going to be on IEPs. And the last slide here, some focused professional development this year and next. Curriculum mapping, we're doing that right now, aligning our district curricular resources with the Ohio's learning standards and using the resources we have as a resource. We no longer can open up a book and start on page 1 and go to page 300. Books aren't set up that way. They come and tell you, yes, this is aligned to Ohio standards, but there's a lot of stuff in there that the kids don't need. So our teachers are learning that they're teaching standards and using the book as a resource to teach those standards. So they start with the standard in their lesson planning. And then something we're doing this year that comes along with the school improvement grant is leverage training. It's an intensive 2-year training that's going to teach the teachers the skills they need to master fundamentals of literacy instruction and all of those components of literacy. We have, in the plan that I had to submit for the grant, we have planned that the teachers are going to be out of the classroom, which isn't great, but at least they get time to do that. And we have substitutes going to be able to come in to allow our teachers to have this training that they need. So they'll have modules 1 through 4 this year. That actually starts next month. And then modules 5 through 8 next year for our elementary teachers. And I would love to be able to offer that to our primary teachers after the elementary teachers come use these guys. Well, I'll say as a guinea pig, because we actually, letters training is a research evidence-based program that we don't have the money to provide everybody that training right now, so. Letters training may come in with the primary building later on. And again, that's our literacy committee. We have teachers at every grade level. We appreciate their time and effort in this committee to build the plan that you have in front of you. That's a lot more information that you have in front of you that you can take home and read and ask questions about. Any questions?
How's the award going? How is it this?
This is our second year. Our second
First.
full. This is, we're getting our third year.
It's the second year, last year was the first full year.
Last year, we gave the training to everybody in the year, so I think we're still learning, we're still implementing. I'm gonna put it out there, I guess. A couple years ago, in this position, I was in some classrooms, and I don't know that the board at that point understood my role here as a curriculum director to go in and monitor and see what's happening in our instruction. So I'll be completely honest, I've not been in the buildings, I've not been in the classrooms to evaluate the program and see how it's working. So I have to rely on our principals, which I trust, and value their opinion. But, I would love to be able to go into the classrooms again and support the teachers if they need supporting, to coach them if they need coaching, and, so that's.
The ones that have received the training, have you reached out to them at all to see?
Oh, they all loved it when it happened. I mean, you guys were like,
Right.
you were on a pedestal because they all really wanted to have the training. And so, they're using it. But, we don't have a literacy coach at this point, so we need to have somebody that's going in as an instructional leader to support and to give some feedback to them. And I don't know if I'm able to do that at this point, so I'm hoping to be able to do that. So. All right, any other questions?
Any other questions for you? If not, thank you.
All right. When you're ready.
All right, after Justin's presentation, then we'll go.
Okay.
Mr. Leonard from Beaver Constructors Incorporated is here asking us to come to our meeting to talk to the board, just a little bit about timeline and stuff. Mrs. Lint, myself have been meeting every Wednesday with the Diversified Engineering and Beaver with Justin. And every Friday then we meet with Mr. Miles and Mr. Beckley to go over where we are with the plan. So I was kind of asking to come and kind of give us a synopsis. I did give you guys some papers at the desk, which kind of gives you the overall layout. Also had the field house design that we worked on, and also where everything was going to lay out in the on the facility grounds. So, and sure they'll have questions for you.
All right, well, first off, again, thank you for allowing us to be a part of this project. We have a lot of people on staff that are in the Claymont community here. I think the superintendent is going to run this job for us from the field every day. It's quite a math. Probably lives a couple blocks away and as a Claymont graduate, and really looking forward to it. So, one of the things we're working on right now is preparing for the groundbreaking on Saturday. We've got some project painters being printed tomorrow. We've got the hard hats ordered. We've got the chrome shovels all polished up and ready to go. So we'll probably be out Friday to kind of get together and set something up outside rather than actually having the physical hard ground to try and dig into. We always like to take some nice clean topsoil and just kind of do a little windrow on top. That way no one's going to get hurt trying to dig down into the hard soils or anything. So
Shorter than one.
So we'll get that all ready on Friday and looking forward to being a part of it Saturday. Overall with the project right now, partnering with Diversified, we're about 75% complete with the design components of the job. And it's kind of been piecemeal as we've gone through things. Brian touched on the Wednesday meetings that we've been meeting together with everybody on. We're getting ready to submit for permits here real soon. Those go both through the city of Harrisville and also through ECOBA. ECOBA is the East Central Ohio Building Authority. So there's a couple different avenues that we have to navigate through in order to get all the permits in place. But like everything else, it's kind of phased as we go. So we'll focus on the stormwater and sanitary sewer and items like that first, and then once we get more people on board and get a little further into the design, we'll be able to get permits in place for electrical, mechanical, plumbing, those items. So, I've been working very closely with everyone in the Wednesday meetings as far as coordinating the demolition and utility work that has to happen. So we've had a lot of great conversations on schedule there and then getting those components started. I saw the water lines have already been run, so working on getting things rerouted to keep some facilities online while we're able to keep going with construction. The main field house is what's called a pre-engineered metal building. We talked a little bit about that whenever we came down and gave our proposal to you guys. That is basically a big giant erector set for adults. So it's a big prepackaged system. It's extremely cost efficient, and we are a certified builder through a company called Curricular. So we're able to get really good, about 25% on average discounts through Curricular. And it helps accelerate the design process, and they carry a little bit of lead time with them, and everything carries lead time in 2020, but we went ahead and moved forward and purchased the building. We've got it ordered, got everything designed, and we have some tentative delivery dates for the first half of January on the actual field house structure, which is great news. We're currently out to bid right now with the grandstands and press box portion of the job. We had 5 pre-qualified bidders that I sent all that information out to, so they have some preliminary drawings and specifications to abide by. We'll be opening those bids Friday, I believe, and we'll do detailed scope reviews with the parent load bidders to make sure they have everything covered, and then we'll go ahead and move forward with whatever entity that might be. We've had a lot of good conversations with very interested parties, and right now the bid market is extremely hot. There's just not a lot out there for these guys to get their hands on. And one reason why we like to do the grandstand and press box portion in the wintertime is because the pricing is normally way better. When you're doing these athletic projects or any kind of school project, everybody wants to have it done by August, and everybody's slammed in the summer months. So we take advantage of the downtime. Numbers are always better because people are looking for work. So. Next up on the list will be the site work and utility portion of the project. We're working with Diversified to finalize those documents and hoping to get that out to bid next week. That specific scope of work is something that we're going to submit a self-perform bid on, something that we do in-house. So what we'll do to keep everything fair is we'll still have our list of pre-qualified bidders. We'll alert them so that they know that we're also going to submit a bid as well. And then we submit our bid directly, probably to either Beth or Brian 4 hours in advance. So there's no competitive advantage for us. We have a separate estimating division that will take care of those costs. I would never see it until after all the numbers are turned in. So hopefully we're able to be a part of that part of the project because it is kind of our bread and butter. But again, in the nature of fairness, we competitively did that with the other pre-qualified bidders as well. So following that will be the concrete, masonry, the interior packages, and then there's mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Those will all be pre-packaged, put together. Pre-qualified bidders, talking to a lot of people in this area. We were fortunate to work down the street at Indian Valley last year, so a lot of those same contractors want to be part of this project as well. So we'll be packaging that together and getting out to bid here within the next couple of weeks. Ultimately, our goal from the construction side will be to get started out here probably around Thanksgiving, and then depending on how the schedule goes with demolition, getting on the utilities moved. Sometimes it's a little cumbersome working with the utility companies themselves as far as getting them out and the schedule, but we're trying to help as much as we can with that. And our goal would be to get started again around Thanksgiving, worst case scenario, early December, get the site work and utility work done, and be in position to have all the foundations complete, hopefully by around the end of the year. That way when the building comes in the beginning of January, we can be able to start erecting that steel, and you guys you'll be amazed how quick this goes up. One day you drive by, there won't be anything there. A couple of days later, you'll see the whole entire shell of the building up. So it goes extremely fast. That's another reason why we like using these pre-engineered metal buildings. Moving through the winter, hopefully we get another winter like last year. We really didn't have a lot of winter, which is great. That's my fingers across for here. But the goal is to have the whole building enclosed, so structure up, roof on, walls in, floorboard, all our underground work done. I would say probably by the end of April. That gives us the months of May, June, and July to focus on finishing out the interiors of the field house and any other components on site that we need to consider. So there'll be a little bit of touch up as far as landscaping and seating is concerned. We've had some conversations with Diversified as far as upgrading some of the existing asphalt pavement, concrete pavement. We've been working on a restroom and concession building and integrating ticket sales into that, upgrading some fencing, doing as much as we possibly can to maximize that as well as part of this project. Again, it all kind of comes together late next summer. We're shooting for August completion date in Vegas. I have high hopes that we're going to be able to make some great progress, but again, right now, until we finalize the design, get all these other contractors on board, and make it through the fun that is Ohio winter. It's a little too early to tell, but we're very, very confident based off our experience we'll be able to get this project done without any issues. Part of the construction management versus contract model that we really like is we do have a very small project contingency. So if we do start to have any schedule challenges, we already have money built into the job to accelerate the schedule if needed, working additional hours or Saturdays or anything like that. So I feel very confident about the schedule and keeping this thing turned over to you guys as planned for next football season. Okay. Any questions for me? Next time I'll bring a big PowerPoint presentation.
Dustin, I do appreciate the school colors there.
My wife doesn't even put my clothes out for me.
Johnson, I have one question.
Yes.
How do you kept mentioning the pre-approved bidders? How do you become that? How does someone become that?
Well, if you know of any contractors in the area that have interest, just give them my information directly, have them reach out to me. A lot of it's just based on experience. Again, this is my 8th stadium project, and I've worked with about 20 different school districts and a variety of different things. So over the years, I've kind of built a go-to list. We're a Stark County contractor. We do a lot of work in Tuscarawas County, so we're very familiar with the big market and the players that are going to have interest. But if there is anybody locally that has great interest, again, just feel free to give them my information directly, and we'll go through our process and see if we can't get them to be part of the project.
So they're pre-approved through Beaver, not necessarily like the state of Ohio.
Yeah, just through Beaver. It's in-house. We look at safety record, we look at bonding capacity, we look at past work experience. It's not impossible to get pre-approved, but we just want to vet out.
Which ultimately falls on you if
Right.
we the contractor.
Correct. We own all the risk for the subcontractors. That's the one advantage that we like as far as a self-perform standpoint is concrete, masonry, site work, carpentry, any of that kind of stuff. If we were to get somebody on board, and 2020 has been a heck of a year, right? Somehow, some way, the project starts going bad and they're in the fault of their contract, we've got the manpower and capabilities to back that up and get the work done in-house. So, yeah, with everyone that we have interested right now, people that we can talk to, I don't think we'll have any issues at all. It's a good time. Believe it or not, I was talking to some people earlier today, and they were concerned about bidding out work, going into the election in the next couple of weeks. And the market right now is very, very young. In the last month or so, the options that are out there for local work is just totally not enough. Because everyone's kind of preparing to see what happens here at the end of the year. So as far as I'm concerned, now's the time to straight.
Well, I sit on the board authority board, or the Tuscarawas County. And COLA's numbers are definitely down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we want to get it going as early as possible too, just to lock in material pricing as well. I mean, I was at Home Depot the other day and spent $7.50 on a 2x4 that I paid $2.10 for 6 months ago.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, how much wood do we need? Because I know
Not
just
very much.
building our storage shelves was 3 times more
Yeah.
than what it should have been
Right.
just this past week, so mostly steel, not wood. That's good.
So my goal moving forward, as we get going with construction, I'll have some progress photos and kind of have a short monthly report put together, so it won't just be me standing here. We'll be able to kind of walk you guys through the process and how important this project is to you guys. It's a once in a lifetime experience. We're really excited to be a part of it and want to make sure that you feel like you're truly connected to it as well. We've been kind enough to kind of check up in the track and field trailer that's outside over there right now. So all the hard hats and vests and all the fun stuff that you guys kind of get to start to experience Saturday, we'll have all that over there. So if anybody at any point in time wants to come and tour the project and see what's going on, just feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll come down and meet with you guys and take a report for the jobs. Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna sneak out. I got 10 months off. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I had FFA report. It's a short video from our FFA team. And I have 2 other items for community accommodations.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Scambrino, and I am this year's Claymont FFA president. The rest of our officers include Rachel Miles as vice president, secretary Michaela Frank, reporter Lexi Watson, treasurer Dax Peters, and sentinel Ira Meekins. We are having our annual fruit sales, which include oranges, apples, grapefruit, fruit baskets, and 3 different barbecue sauces. This sale continues until October 29th. And benefits our members through lowering the cost of events and providing awards for their work. As of last week, Gemma Ducks recited all 5 paragraphs of the FFA creed and will be receiving a free FFA jacket. We have 7 other members who have ordered their very own jacket that will be able to keep to remember all of their memories. At the end of October, we will be participating in our National FFA Convention virtually. The convention allows for students to attend different workshops and keynote sessions, as well as look into career and post-secondary opportunities. Typically, we travel to Indianapolis, Indiana, for this event with thousands of other FFA members. However, this year we will be coming up with creative ways to make this year's convention special, as all of our members will be able to attend at the school.
Thank you. A couple of things I just want to highlight that Mrs. Miles talked about the Leader in Me programming. I was able to work with the Adams Board and receive a grant for K-12 prevention funding. And we're going to be using the amount of $25,807, that's $25,807 to help fund our Leader in Me programming that we have. That'll be for the continued professional development that the kids receive at our high school, and also our staff will receive later on in the year. So that's how that funding will be used as part of that. I laid it in part of your work packet, but I also laid it down for you tonight. Was our current enrollment numbers. Just don't highlight any of those, but I think last time we asked about homeschool students. As of this report, we had 32 homeschool students, and that's up about 15 from last year. So last board meeting, we talked about the number of students who might have gone to homeschooling because of due to COVID. We did receive some that went up, and some of those homeschool students for this year said they're committed to coming back next, but that is just a small handful. But you can take a look at the enrollment numbers that we have. I'm glad to see our high school numbers are as high as they are. A lot of that goes to keeping some of our students here due to our CCP offerings. And lastly, to go over, this will be a line item, is the reopening plan. What we're experiencing right now, like last week, everybody was anticipating us moving to red as far as Tuscarawas County. Last week, we didn't have numbers within our school to dictate or warrant the need to go to an A/B instructional pattern. What I'm finding is it would be more advantageous for us to maybe close a specific building due to COVID numbers versus the whole entire district. So this plan would be that we would maintain 4 days of instruction, 1 day remote, because without that plan, our teachers need that time to plan, get our online lessons available, take themselves teaching lessons, and they utilize that a lot on Fridays, making sure that they're doing that. Plus, we do some professional development, such as TBTs and BLTs. But with that flexibility, if we go red at the end of the week, we can still stay in school session 4 days a week, but maybe a building, we can't find enough subs to it because we have staff members who have come down with either COVID or quarantine, and we can't staff our building. Then that building per se would go remote and not the whole entire district. If we went to the purple, we would keep that down to, because that would become the public emergency where we would go remote learning options for that. So I just want to highlight that. Any questions on the change in our plan?
Is that what you're posting on the district site?
Yes.
Facebook page?
Yeah, it'll be on the website. I'll talk to Mrs. Miles. She'll work on that stuff tomorrow. Not tonight, work on it tomorrow and get that updated, but make sure those updates will be there, so we'll have it posted up. So, and that will be a line item in our agenda.
Anything else there, Mr. Rich, before we go into accommodations?
I do not.
Okay, do you want to move right into that?
Beth, do you want to highlight your report or?
No, okay, I have it.
Commendations, I want to thank First National Bank for donating $60,000 over 3 years for the renovation project. And so they're donating John Smith $110. Mako's Market gave 3 cases of hand sanitizer for us. And also Heyman Foundation for $2,000 for Project Lead the Way, and the Moonlaw Foundation for Project Lead the Way. So I want to thank them for donating.
Anything else under that?
No, sir.
Okay, we do not have to have an executive session tonight, so we'll move right on to any addendums to be pulled.
I have an addendum for item K, revising the school's reopening plan, and I also have an addition, employing Alex Cox as middle school teacher at BA Step 0 effective today. So Alex now has his credentials. It was posted for position. He has been subbing it for last year and this year so far. So Alex now has his teaching license.
Okay. I don't think we need a roll call on that, do we? Well, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, we have a second.
So,
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
And Mr. Turner?
Okay. Any items to be pulled?
No, there is one that's pulled, but that was prior to tonight.
Okay. Okay, we'll move right into the treasurer's report.
Let me just highlight a couple things on your, for the month of September. As you saw on my reconciliation report, we did receive the money that's $6.5 million was placed into a separate Star Ohio account that's going to be used for the building project and the high school roof. So that pushed our numbers up higher for right now, but just taking a kind of a look of comparing last month's to this month's, our total cash is down almost $439,000. General fund is down $358,000. By looking at the form that just looks at like this, that for the general fund, our revenues are up just a slight bit over last year's at this time. Our personal services, which is our wages and stuff, is down $50,000 up to this time. So I mean, the cuts that we did make have made kind of a small impact at this point, but we've seen an increase in the benefits, of course. So that's so. For right now, we're sitting at our revenues over expenditure of about $1.1 million. And so our next real estate property taxes won't start coming in until like February again. So we'll be cutting into that savings over the next couple of months.
Yeah, you know offhand what we're anticipated, ending the year with as a deficit.
I have not, and that was the other thing. Next month, I'll be putting together the 5-year forecast. I was starting to compile this stuff now, but I reached out to the county auditor to get an update on our property taxes and stuff. And he said they are just now reevaluating for the taxable values. And he also had given me, you know, how we had talked about we didn't want to go to the community with more than the 5 mills that was voted into. Right now, he's got it sitting at like the bond would be reduced to 1 mill next year, plus the 5 mills. So I'm working with him to get that reduced to a total of 5 mills. Because we had talked about not collecting that extra so that people wouldn't feel that,
I thought we were collecting it for 1 year.
well, we were increasing from like the 4 point whatever up to the 5, so that's what we were calculating.
And that was when it went for back for just a little bit of time. And that was when we considered a cushion, so we decided not to do that.
Well, that's kind of what we had talked about in those meetings.
Yeah, when it was rolled out, or,
So in the meetings in public, we said we would.
yes, yeah, all our levy campaign stuff that we were gonna double collect
Okay.
on this.
So I'm gonna be working with the auditor to make sure, you know, what we're looking at that. So I had, like I said, hard numbers next month. I'll do a presentation like I had done previously with a slideshow showing where everything's at, and then I'll see for the 5-year forecast approved next month. So if you have any questions, you know, please speak up, but I'm looking for a motion to accept or approve the financial report for September, the payment of bills as presented, the regular board meeting minutes of September 14th. I did have a then and now statement in here for, I believe it was a date on a purchase order. There's a class intent form for the accelerated math fund at the middle school. They're discontinuing that as of right now, and they want those monies to be transferred over to the student council to be used. Creation of the use has codes from retroactive to last year. I didn't realize I had to have those approved so I need to retroactively approve the 467 student wellness and success funds and the 537 Title I supplemental that the middle school got last year. We also had the budgets for the student activities in your packets to look over. Also some student activity purpose statements. Those were what Mr. Rich was talking about at the beginning of where this special ed classrooms are going to be trying to raise money and teach the kids some necessary skills in that area, so that those are needed to set up the accounting base. And then the First Amendment for our building project, that contract there is to order that prefab building that Justin had mentioned. So I need a first and a second to approve all those items.
I entertain that we have a motion. I'll go ahead and make that recommendation. Do we have a second? Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Kroll?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
And Mr. Trimmer?
Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go into the superintendent.
Okay, the items that I have are item A, approving the classified substitutes as listed. Item B is approving an unpaid medical leave from last week, retroactive last week through February. Approved board policy 6.14 to reflect the Ohio graduation seals. You have to have graduation points. Now part of it is we have to also have seals, and then in your board packet, our counselors that work on community service seal, fine arts, performing arts, and also the student engagement seal. So we'd like to put that as part of our board policy. Employ the following coaches pending proper certification and credentials. Approve the following winter volunteers for this school year. Employ, we have scoreboard operators and clock operators, ticket takers. For item G, we have, we call Friday school, but now we're running on Thursday nights. So we have some staff listed there to run those. It's only one person, but this gives them a rotation as needed. We're entering into an agreement with the East Central Ohio Education Service Center to offer driver's ed courses at no cost to the district. Accepting the resignation of Ms. Hutchinson as intermediate cook. Tuition reimbursement as part of the CEA contract for tuition reimbursement. Item K was revising the Ohio, or our Claymont reopening plan, and L was employing Alex Cox as middle school teacher.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we accept the superintendent's report. Okay. We have a second? Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett? Mrs. Kroll?
Yes.
And the last item I pulled separately was to approve that Colton Miles would be a basketball volunteer pending the proper certification and credentials.
Okay, I entertain, we have a motion, I'll make that motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Kroll?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Abstain.
And Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Under new business. Okay, I have a couple things. I just wanted to speak to the board members that due to the fact that we have the COVID-19, that we will not be having the convention next month, okay? I got a card in the mail, I assume everybody got that card. I would like to say that they have some tremendous classes there. The 101 on boardsmanship is an outstanding class to go to. It tells about the do's and don'ts. Boardmanship. Also, you can get online next month and observe some of the classes that they're going to have. But I'd like to iterate you for our board that they have some very good books out under boardsmanship. And like I said, the do's and don'ts of the board member. And we run our district. We have a high standard for our board members. That we're up here because we have a high standard for all of our staff, and we need to continue to do that. And we're the only ones that can monitor our own board, okay? So if you don't have a book, you can get them through the High School Boards Association. And I would highly recommend the boardsmanship book. There's another good one on the relationship with the treasurer and the superintendent. and how to run a board meeting. And again, we are all, as board members, we run our district. Everyone looks up to us, so we have to hold our standards higher, more so than what we have for our staff, because we set that example. At that time, I don't have anything else. Our next board meeting will be November 16th at 5:30 here. So I entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, we have a second?
So,
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
And Mr. Trimmer?
Joe.
6:50.
6:50. Board meeting.